hidden Wisconsin, bluffs, lighthouses, and the flyway that never sleeps. If you stood in Wisconsin around 1800, the ground thumped like a heartbeat, wagons rolling east, canoes slipping west, councils gathering under tall pines. Paths crossed here first, and they still do. Today we're chasing those tracks, from sand prairies fluttering with black terns to lighthouses staring down Great Lake storms, from ancient earth mounds to a museum whose wings open to the sky. Hey friends, I'm Dannelle, the Traveling Cheesehead, and this is Hidden Wisconsin, bluffs, lighthouses, and the flyway that never sleeps. Before we get started and diving in, do me a favor right at the top. Tap follow or subscribe, and if you love what you hear today, share this episode with one person who needs a little Midwest wonder in their week. Your shares are the fuel that keeps the road trip rolling. Okay, let's ride. Picture this. Trempealeau National Wildlife Refuge. Oh, at sunrise, the Mississippi Flyway is waking up. The air shivers and suddenly the horizon lifts. Wings upon wings, migrating travelers making a pit stop in a world stitched together by wetlands, backwaters, and quiet back channels. Here in this refuge of sand prairie and cattail marsh, black terns skim the surface of the still water. They don't dive like their ocean cousins. They swoop and snatch, flickering shadows over lily pads. Sandhill cranes, those tall, dignified birds, trade secrets across the marsh in bugling calls that sound like someone taught a trumpet to laugh. And duck families, especially the wood ducks, with their secret tree cavity nurseries, slip through the reeds like rumors. Bring your binoculars. Bring patience. Bring enough quiet to hear the place just breathe. On a good migration morning, Trempealeau doesn't feel visited. It feels witnessed. Now trace a finger south on the map to the Wisconsin River, a waterway that's been everything to everyone. A highway for logs, a muscle for hydroelectric power, and these days a ribbon of freedom for paddlers who love a good sandbar. The lower Wisconsin Riverway is one of the longest free-flowing stretches in the Midwest, which is fancy talk for it still behaves like a river. It meanders, it braids, it makes sandbar campsites that vanish and reappear with just the moods of the water and the wind. If you go, look up. Bald eagles are here in force now. Their comeback a living proof of hope story. They patrol the banks with that I run the neighborhood look, because they do. In a good year, the river reads like a field journal. Fish hunting at dawn, thermals at noon, and silhouettes at sunset that look like flags waving to you and encourage you to go right to that next bend. Quick pause. If this is already sparking your weekend plans, hit follow now so you don't forget later, and text this episode link to a friend, most likely who will say, okay, I'll bring the snacks, because, we love that friend. Stone, timber, and time. Oh, let's trade that water for rock and story. In the hills of Mineral Point, there's a place called Pendarvis. It's a collection of limestone and timber buildings cared for with so much love that I swear the walls have softened at the corners. This is Cornish miner country. Pasties in the oven, slate roofs catching the light, and the history preserved not like a diorama, but like a kitchen table that somebody still sits at. Walk through and you feel the grit of the grit with heart. Early lead and zinc mining, families who carved out a life, and later preservationists who said, this matters, and then proved it with their sleeves rolled up. A short drive east and a few centuries back, one of the northern outposts of the Mississippian culture is where you arrive. Flat-topped platform mounds, The remnants of palisaded village and fields where people tended corn long before the word Wisconsin was ever spoken in English. The connections to the Cahokia are clear in earthworks and pottery styles. And yet, Aztlan is its own story, one that insists the Midwest has always been complex, creative, and connected. When you need a high place, a perspective, head for Holy Hill. The basilica sits on glacial high ground like a lighthouse for the soil. If the tower is open, climb it, by all means, but take your time. Let the air change around you, and on a clear day, the world unrolls kind of like a green and blue tapestry, stitched with farm fields that curve along the hills. That curve isn't just pretty. It's contour farming, a conservation practice that slows the runoff, guards the soil, and makes the countryside look like a topographic quilt. And boy, in the fall, the views can't be beaten. When the leaves change, you have a whole new perspective. Okay, now we're going to have water on all sides. This is for you water babies, it's your time. Devil's Lake State Park is the postcard that somehow feels bigger in person. Those quartzite bluffs rising straight from the spring-fed lake, no visible inlet, no visible outlet, a little mystery built right in. Hike the bluffs and you'll earn your hero shot at balanced rock. Then find a CCC-built stone wall. Lean on it and tip your hat to those workers in the 1930s who turned sweat and stone into spaces that we still use today. CCC, that's the Conservation Corps. That goes back to how we recovered from the Great Depression. Keep the compass pointed northeast and shoreline gets dramatic. Welcome to Door County, the Cape Cod of the Midwest, with little towns that each have a personality, a bakery, and a strong opinion about pie. Now, at Cave Point, waves have spent a millennia carving limestone cliffs and sea caves. On wild weather days, the spray hits the air in diamond bursts, and on calm days, the caves hum. Make time for the Canna Island Lighthouse. Sometimes you can walk the causeway, sometimes you'll want waterproof boots. Either way, the light is worth the climb. From the top, Lake Michigan looks like forever, wearing a blue dress. And when you've had your fill of wind and lake, find yourself in Sister Bay, where the goats graze on a restaurant roof like it's no big deal. Well, because here it isn't. And cherry orchards serve up blossoms in spring, and pies in summer, and jars of ruby happiness all year long. Farther north, the tip of the state, there's Bayfield. Tiny population and huge in soul. This is your gateway to the Apostle Islands. In summer, kayaks nose into the sandstone sea caves like curious otters. In winter, cold and calm enough, those same caves freeze into crystal chapels, and the whole place looks like a cathedral made by ice and breath. On Madeline Island, stories ripple through time. The Ojibwa homelands, fur traders and missionaries, flags that changed, and a coastline that didn't. How about cities with a past life? Some cities wear their history like a jacket. In La Crosse, it's a warm one. River culture here is everyday life. Paddle a kayak, hop a river cruise, or spread out a picnic on Grandad Bluff and watch the whole valley just exhale. The University of Wisconsin-La Crosse keeps the air fizzy with youthful energy, cafes, galleries, bookstores, and the kind of community that throws festivals like confetti. Now slide along the lake to Sheboygan, where two religions dominate: bratwursts and freshwater surfing. When the wind stacks waves just right, surfers zip into wetsuits and ride Lake Michigan like it's a long misunderstanding that finally worked out. And lakeside parks and a breakwater lighthouse, oh my gosh, add these in and you've got a city that knows exactly who it is. Head south to Kenosha, a place that built cars for more than a century. Jeffrey, Nash, even AMC, and they built communities right alongside them. The North Pier Lighthouse throws sunsets like a party trick. The downtown throws art walks that say, "Oh yeah, we can reinvent." And then there's Madison, Tijap in the Ho-Chunk language, set like a crown on the isthmus between Lakes Mendota and Monona. The state capitol rises with a granite dome that anchors the city in marble confidence, and the farmer's market that wraps totally around it in summertime smells like flowers and cheese, along with fresh donuts, which is really how it does smell. It's like the smell of happiness. Campus life along the lakes makes everything feel possible. Bike trails sew the neighborhoods together in just perfectly neat stitches. And then there's Milwaukee, a city at the meeting of Milwaukee, Menominee, and Knickknick rivers, a city that brewed beer so well it became a personality trait. Today, the craft scene is vibrant. Tasting rooms, beer gardens, and festival culture so lively, the calendar might need a nap. The historic Third Ward turned warehouses into galleries and studios in one of the country's most respected art districts. And on the lakefront, the Milwaukee Art Museum puts on a show even before you walk in. The Quadrasi Pavilion by Santiago, opening into its Burke Breeze Soleil-like winds. Twice a day, those wings lift and lower, and you can feel the entire city quietly say wow at the same time. Inside, art. Outside, beach. Bradford Beach does a pretty convincing Lake Michigan Riviera impression when the sun cooperates. Now the working countryside. We cannot talk about Wisconsin without talking fields. America's dairyland is more than a slogan. It's families and herds and coolers stacked with cheese that squeak like they're practicing for a choir. But the countryside is broader than dairy. In the central and northern marshes, cranberry bogs grow ruby in the harvest time when their beds are flooded and the berries float like 1,000 tiny little lanterns. And across the state's hills, especially in the driftless, those beautiful curves you see in the fields, their contour farming is doing its quiet, brilliant work, slowing the water, keeping soil where it belongs, and protecting the creeks and rivers that stitch this landscape together. So here's what all of these places share. Wisconsin is a crossroads. It has been for centuries. Geology met water, cultures met opportunity, work met wonder. From Refuge at the Trempealeau to the wings on the museum, from the mounds of Aslan to the lighthouses on Canna Island, the story isn't just old, it is ongoing. So if today's journey sparked your wanderlust, make sure you follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. And please share this with one friend who needs a nudge to explore. Your text, your post, your shout across the supper club means the world to me and helps curious travelers find our little corner of the internet. If you've got 30 seconds, leave a review and tell me what you want more of next time. Birds, boats, brats, or bluffs. You know I can deliver on all four with extra cheese. Until then, keep traveling, keep tasting, and keep your eyes open for the wonders hiding in plain sight. I'm Dannelle, the Traveling Cheesehead, and I'll see you down the road.